Hi, Steve. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Laura. How are you guys doing? It's the emoji shower from Laura. I'm going to try to say your last name, Laura. Murmac? Did I say it right? Good evening, Steve. I'm just lighting my candles. As you can see, I brought my special candle in this beautiful red vase. It's goji taroko orange scented, whatever that is. Well, goji berries, I guess. Oh, you have your son. Cool. Hi to your son and welcome. I'm glad you made it. So hopefully your son has a nice spot where he can either sit or come onto his back and maybe a pillow underneath his head, maybe a covering for his eyes. You know the whole thing. I'm sure you're all ready for it. All right. So, Murmac attack. I'm glad I learned how to say that. So find your way right into your spot tonight. I'm not going to prattle on about anything. We all know that things are kind of brutal right now in the world, and they always have been. But there's a lot of chaos and grieving and anger. So come onto your back for your practice. And making your way into a place where you can feel safe for the next 20-25 minutes, maybe closing your eyes and allowing your body to come into a relationship with gravity where you don't have to strain or struggle, where you can really let go. So just bringing yourself probably onto your back and possibly covering your eyes so that you can eliminate visual distraction. And maybe tucking your shoulder blades underneath so the front of your chest can be open and allowing your body to settle back towards the floor and be heavy. So really connecting with the weight of your body as it comes into this relationship with gravity, this horizontal relationship with gravity, where you can really let go. And then with your eyes closed, perhaps, just bringing your attention to your breath. So noticing how your breath feels before you start to change it at all, which is challenging. We always, when somebody tells us to take a look at our breath, we have a good trip, Laura. We pretty much start to deepen the breath and change it and manipulate it right away, possibly because we feel like we should, or possibly just because it feels good to take a deep breath. And when somebody mentions our breathing, suddenly it becomes conscious again to us. So now just starting to notice if you can allow your breath to be, doesn't necessarily have to be more effort in bringing the breath in and out, but just more full in a relaxed way so that your breath is more complete between the inhale and the exhale. There's a certain evenness. There's not a lot of ragged edges to the breath, perhaps. I've heard some teachers say coarse. The breath can be sometimes be coarse. I'm not really sure what that means, but I always think kind of ragged is one way to talk about it when our breath isn't at its most comfortable, peaceful, relaxing. So you might, as you bring your inhale in, just let your belly relax so that your diaphragm, your respiratory diaphragm, has room to move deeper, making space for the breath in your lungs. So also, as you expand your belly, you might feel a little sense of deeper calm as you do that. So feeling how the breath comes cool in through your nose and comes back down through your throat into your lungs, inflating your lungs. So the rib cage expands. The belly can expand a bit. And then as you exhale, the belly might draw in a little bit. The rib cage contracts, the lungs deflate. The air exits your body. It's warmer. Your out-breath is warmed. So breathing in and out consciously, inhaling and exhaling. Noticing if you've accumulated any tension as you've been breathing. You probably walked into this meditation with a certain amount of tension in your body already from the day, and we can do things to start to dissolve that. But you might also notice that when you breathe, there are places in your body that gather some tension. So see if you can soften your face, allowing your jaw to relax. You could open your mouth and stretch your jaw a little bit and then let it release. Might hear a little crackling in the joint. And then feel your forehead softening. So all of the lines, all of the furrows in your brow are releasing. The wrinkles are just kind of evening out. Feeling soft in your temples. Like your cheekbones are getting wider, the bridge of your nose widening. Your nostrils are open and the air flows in and out easily and evenly, comfortably. Relaxing the front of your throat. And then feeling your vocal cords just releasing. You don't need to use them now. So you may have been using them a lot today. Excuse me. So feeling all of your airways are open. So if your neck is in any position that feels compromising to that, like sometimes we need to find a more comfortable alignment with our neck. And it can help to have a pillow supporting the neck because we have this natural curve in our cervical spine. And we want to preserve that. And we don't want to have any crunching in the neck, so let it be open. Feeling the dome of the roof of your mouth and letting it be spacious. Feel like your eyeballs are just floating in their sockets. So you're not holding on to any tension in the eyes. You can feel all those little muscles that you need to use to move the eyeballs are relaxed. Especially if you cover the eyes with something, it can be easier to soften them. And you can feel your eyelids are kind of draped over your eyeballs. Soft and heavy. Let your mouth just be kind of like the tongue is just laying in the bottom of the mouth. The tip of your tongue is still. And as you bring your tongue into a more relaxed state, you might feel like there's more saliva, like you're kind of drooling a little bit in your mouth. This is actually very relaxing to your nervous system. So just let it happen. You might notice that, like if you're having a massage or something, you feel like you're going to start drooling. So just allowing that to happen and noticing how it feels. Letting your lips be relaxed. Almost like your scalp is relaxing. So your scalp isn't gripping your skull. It's just loosely covering your skull. And that area underneath the skull, where your skull and your neck come together, the suboccipital area, the ridge there in the back of the skull. You might even bring your fingers up, bring your hands back, and give yourself a little bit of a tension there. Just feeling those muscles, those strong muscles, and kind of pressing into them and finding where you have tension. And just rubbing it out a little bit, just letting it be relaxed. You might find little spots, like I have a little spot on the right side. And then bring your arms back down by your sides again. And feel how your lower jaw is just slightly detached from the rest of your skull. It can just be loose. Moving further down, feeling your rib cage against the floor, the flat bones of your scapula snug against the floor. Feel how the front of your chest is open, and there's a softness in these muscles that connect into the collarbones. So you might feel like the tension there, all those little connective tissues. You have several joints. You've got this little joint here where the collarbones come together and that little notch there. So just feeling all of that area softening and loosening. So the breath can come up underneath the collarbones into the top of the lungs. It can also move deeper into the lower lungs. So experiment with your breath as you inhale, just feeling, and it's a little bit tricky to feel where the breath is in the lungs. Can you feel it up higher in your lungs? I'm not asking you to take a big, deep breath. I'm just asking you to feel more sensitively where the breath is. It's interesting to think that the lungs come up underneath the collarbones. They're kind of higher. We sort of think of them as being in the middle of our chest, but so bring the breath up into the upper parts of your lungs, feeling it in the back of the lungs. I'm feeling it in the sides. I'm feeling that there's a spaciousness inside of your rib cage. Some of the resistance is loosened around the rib cage, so there's no feeling of being constricted there. It's just open. And then if you notice that your neck, if there's any sense that your neck is contracted on one side, just gently sort of even it out and straighten your head out a little bit on the floor there. And then inviting the breath to come deeper, not just deeper into the lungs, but how does it feel when the breath comes deeper into your abdomen? So there's a sensation of pressure as you inhale and allow that respiratory diaphragm to move and the belly to relax and release with the inhale. Feeling your spine against the floor with its curves. Feeling the places where your spine makes contact with the surface beneath you. And in between the bones of your spine are little discs that are giving you, they are like little shock absorbers. So just imagine all of those discs in your neck and in your upper back and lower back, just imagining them being like plump and juicy and protective. So feeling the rise and fall of your chest and your belly with the breath. And then feeling how the organs inside your belly can settle back, just like the rest of you, in their own way, releasing tension. So the belly itself is soft and can move with the breath. Feeling your sacrum against the floor. Feeling your pelvis kind of shaped like a bowl, holding all the organs within, also releasing and settling back and quieting. Feeling the heaviness of your legs, the big muscles of your thighs that allow you to get from one place to another, your calf muscles, which can become very tense. So just imagining they are completely releasing right now, because you don't really need them. There will be enough tension in your legs for them to be held together, but you don't really need to have any engagement in the muscles of your legs right now, or in the back of your pelvis or your hips. The feet are soft, lots of little joints in the feet, so just let them soften and relax the arches of the feet. And each little toe also, just relaxing. Your body now is in this greater state of resting. And your body is the container with which you experience your life. So it's a container for your emotions and your sensations and all of your experiences. Or maybe you could say it's the vehicle. And of course, your body is impermanent. It is temporary. So feeling how your body right now is almost like so relaxed and released that you're not really overly identifying with it so much. There might be things that are calling out to you, aches and pains, or, if there are sensations that you need to deal with by moving your body around to reorganize, that's fine. I just had to extend my legs so that my foot doesn't fall asleep. So just making yourself as comfortable as you can so that you can experience your body in kind of a different way. Not as a doing, but more as a being. And just noticing the sounds around you. Notice how we kind of, like our ears kind of seek out the sounds, especially when I say that. It's like the background noises, we kind of reach for them or look for them. Might be very quiet where you are, but you can probably still hear your breathing a little bit. Maybe noises in your house or other noises inside of your body. I always have ringing in my ears, which I mostly don't notice, but I notice it when I'm in meditation. And so just noticing as you're here on your back in this relaxed state, what might come up for you. So your mind is still making thoughts, and there are things you can focus on. You can focus on the sound of my voice or on your breath. And you might notice that a thought will arise, and you can see it coming. But you might start to think of it like, you know, those kind of ticker things they have, like for the stock market. There's just always this stream of information that's running by, and you can kind of like see little bits of it and grab onto it and read it. And you know, you might almost think of your thoughts in that way. They're just kind of like this stream of thoughts that's the mind is creating, and it's kind of in the background right now, but some of those thoughts might kind of grab you and pull you towards them, or you might start to cling to them or feel that they're important, or they might cause a physical reaction in your body, even if they're stressful thoughts. So one technique that I've learned is just a labeling technique, and one way to do it, I've done it quite a lot already in this evening meditation, but one way to approach it is when the thought comes and you start to notice it and it starts to become a thing for you, or you're attaching yourself to it, is to just excuse me, to just say thinking, and then come back to your breath. So you just say it twice in your mind. Thinking, and then bring your attention back to the breath. It's just a simple kind of way to label the thinking and to return back to the breath and what's behind the thinking. Thinking. And you could also say, if you go so far as to notice the thought as something that's maybe going to happen later, you can say future. Or you can look at it and see that it's a thought of the past that's bothering you or trying to get your attention. You can say past. And then bring yourself back to the breath. So just practicing that a little bit in your own way. Thinking. Bringing yourself into greater focus and attentiveness and awareness of your own patterns. It's also relieving to notice that the mind just continues to do what its job is, which is to think. And that's really normal, and we don't really have to we don't have to always pay attention to those thoughts. We can get skilled at practicing this sense of detachment from our thinking. It's like anxiety is kind of that obsessive thinking about something, and a lot of us struggle with anxiety, so this practice can be useful in that way, because we can see the anxiety as it arises as a thought, and then the thought becomes a feeling, in our body, and then the feeling becomes, starts to become like words and actions, and so we can be really ruled by our anxiety and by our anxious thoughts if we allow them to run rampant. And so there's that practice of thinking, noticing the thoughts, coming back to the breath. And then there's also the practice of just learning how to deal with our nervous system, because there's that whole loop of the thought arises, then the physical reaction occurs, the heart rate rises, we start to have shallower breath, we might start sweating, we might have a headache. There's a lot of, everyone's familiar with anxiety and what it can do to us. So we can break that cycle by practicing ways to deal with our nervous system. And then they become more automatic. So instead of holding our breath, we might be able to take a breath when we start to feel the anxiety or the anxious thoughts. And we can even kind of cultivate almost like a amusement about our brain, in a sense, like how absurd it is, the things it does, and how we can be friendly with it, and we can see it for what it is, and we can learn to be more skilled with how we deal with it by practicing. And right now there's just a constant barrage of information and emotion and conflict coming at us from the world. Even if we're safe at home still, if we're, going about our business, there is a lot going on that's very disturbing, and it can really knock us off our path. And in order to be able to deal with all of that stuff skillfully, we have to be able to find this deeper place of calm and stillness within us so that we can become clearer. So just a few more moments of this practice. Feeling the breath, seeing the thoughts come up, saying to ourselves, thinking, and bringing ourselves back to the breath. If the heart rate starts to elevate, we can extend the exhale. So inhale is shorter, exhale is longer. That will help bring your heart rate back down. And so just take 2 or 3 more breaths here on your back. Thinking. It's kind of like the Wild West in our brains sometimes. And then from there, if you're going to come back into your evening, you could come back to a seated position, rolling onto your side and coming up to sit, or you can stay right there on your back to close. So just learning how to manage our energy for the long haul so that we're not constantly getting buffeted around by everything that's happening, and then by our own mind. So if you're back in your seat, just finding your long spine and your open chest. If you're on your back, you can also just find this openness in the chest and take a few balanced breaths in and out through the nose. If you're sitting, lengthening up through the crown of the head. Thinking. And maybe you could bring your hands together at your heart, and you could bow your head to your own practice, your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Namaste. Thank you for joining in. And so today is May 28th, so 3 more nights of nightly meditations, and then we'll go to once a week. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope you have a peaceful evening.